Hijabro started just around UP elections.
Yeah.
Now I don't hear anything about Hijabro.
Religion unites millions but divides billions.
Yeah, there was this very big issue in Hyderabad with 140 people got arrested.
As soon as the baby is born, thap, you're Hindu.
You're
Thap, you're
Muslim.
Muslim.
Yeah.
You're Christian.
Any human being, whether it's man, woman, whatever, transsexual, whatever it may be, you feel horny. So recently, there was this very big issue in Hyderabad with 140 people got arrested, at a nightclub. It was
It's close to home as well.
very close to your house, yes. And the funny part is that I went there the previous night.
Yeah.
From your house, I was there, and we were just sitting and talking about doing this podcast and rehearsing, I think. And I went there, and it was actually pretty happening. And little did we know that next day every person who went there would have been arrested. Few of our friends who we won't name were in the list as well.
A lot.
Yeah,
We got all their numbers and addresses out of the details as well.
Yeah, we did. That list really got circulated to everybody, I think. But it was quite an interesting thing to happen to a city like Hyderabad, where we want to aspire to be a metropolitan city. We want to be one of the top cities of the country. And nightlife, I think, is a very important aspect to attract tourism / different people from different parts of the world. I think a lot of people, of course, come for the history, come for heritage, come for the people, come for the food, but a big part of it is nightlife. And something, such a big thing happening in Hyderabad, I felt was a very negative, had a very negative impact on a lot of people's thought process.
It's a very polarizing issue also, this particular
I
thing.
agree, yeah.
I thought, when this issue happened, so for people who don't really know, there was a nightclub called Pudding and Mink in the hotel in Hyderabad, Banjara Hills, and it got shut down, and all those 150 people were just taken to the police station, kept overnight, and they were harassed because they found some weed and some cocaine bags over there. And it was very polarizing because people like us, we see this mindset of this is bad. My immediate thought process was this is bad for the city, it's bad for our image, because it's bad for business. Because if you want to attract expats over here, you want to attract Microsoft, Google, all these sort of people, they have to live here as well. They're not just coming here for work.
I agree.
You have to have that sort of thing. But the thing is, what made me also, I've realized is you have to see the second side of it. To a chief minister or an MLA, they are just seeing the macro of it. So for them, they see nightlife and hotels and restaurants as really like none of their real top priorities at all. They see it as like, I have bigger problems. I have these farmer suicides. I have this drought, or this crop has to be sold, centers, the GST collection didn't come, all that. So they really, I think there's a problem. There's like this, they say, there's two Indias. There's three Indias. There's Bharat, Hindustan, and India. And we live in India.
Yeah, we do live in
But
India.
for the Bharat and Hindustan people, they just see us like, you spoiled brats. You're going in the clubs and having drugs and all of that. It's very far away from the truth. But yeah, it's very, very odd situation really for the city. I think Hyderabad is a city which is trying to understand its personality. It's not figured out its personality. Like Mumbai has a personality.
100%.
What's its personality? They're very open, late night. All governments has come, they've understood that nightlife. The beauty of when a city has a nightlife is not only the nightclub owners making money, it's even the pav bhaji wala outside the nightclub, the driver who's doing the double shift, or whoever, the taxi wala who's open that. A lot of people in Mumbai, their shift starts at 10 p.m. and ends at 6 a.m. So you're making a double economy because you have a nightlife.
I agree.
Yeah. But the problem I also see is sometimes Indians, we still don't know how to handle Western goodies which have come, which
Culture.
is that culture.
Yeah.
We don't know how to handle our drink yet. You know, there's a huge amount of our people who are well educated but just can't handle their booze.
I understand.
Yeah. Are you one of them?
Well, there was a lot of times that I would say that I was badly behaved,
Yeah.
and I would not say that I've been at the properest in my entirety. But there is a time that people. But like I said earlier as well, you must learn. You must learn. Like I mean, if you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again, then it's not going to help. Okay, fine. The first time it was absolutely. Appalling, and like I made so many mistakes. But now, I would never make that same mistake again. But coming back to the point where I would say that nightlife, like you said, it's a double economy. You are making a lot of money not only for, your people who are working as an auxiliary to the nightlife that's happening. And I really feel that, like you said, Hyderabad has not figured out it's
Like we don't know. Are we a party city,
well,
or are we an IT city? Are we a
we don't
Nizami
know.
culture?
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of like old city, and there's a little bit of new city, and now there's high tech city, and I don't know what's the fourth one, what it's going to be.
Yeah.
You never know.
How have you seen? Because you've lived in Hyderabad most of your life.
I have,
Yeah, or
yeah,
your
I
whole
have,
life.
yeah.
How have you seen it transform, progress? Your early memories.
So Hyderabad has changed a lot. I mean, like I would consider Hyderabad a small town
Yeah.
when we grew up. Like we knew everybody.
Big town.
I mean,
A small city, big town.
a small city, yeah. But like in terms of the thought process, it
Yeah.
was a small town only. Like I never felt that there was like if you wanted to go study abroad, or like you were talking to, like the simplest thing, you were talking to a girl. On your landline. Like if you get a call from a boy, it was fine. Like if a girl called you, everybody look at you. Oh, girl is calling. So we still did not understand the distinction that a man and a woman are, can be friends. Like there's just not one relationship a man and woman can have.
So Hyderabad was really closed.
It was very closed in
Yeah.
its thought process, and so of course it has progressed, but I still feel we are nowhere close to a Bombay.
You used to live in Sikandrabad.
I used to live in Hapshiguda, which is next to the cricket stadium,
Acha.
which is a different world.
Okay.
When my grandfather and my grandfather's brother had property there, it used to be our house and about fields and my grandfather's brother's house. So we could run across the fields. It was just empty. There's just nobody. We had snakes coming in. We had a lot of wildlife, because it was just open wild area. So now that I've seen it, like in my house that I used to live, there's a 7th-floor apartment, and maybe 300 people live in this apartment. So where like 5 of us used to live. So of course it's progressed to another level, but I still feel we lack the maturity and the thought process that a Mumbai would offer, or a Bangalore would offer. I still feel we are on the track to become the next Delhi, I feel.
Delhi.
Yeah, we're not on track to become the next Mumbai, or not on track to become the next Bangalore. We're on a very Delhi-based,
Yeah. For me, I'm very actually impressed with what Hyderabad turned out to be. So we first moved to Hyderabad in 1992. My dad was GM of Taj Banjara, which was Gateway Hotel on Banjara Hills back in the day. And Hyderabad was just back then known for Charminar
Yeah.
and bangles and pearls. It was a little bit, but it was like no one really ever heard of Hyderabad as well. It was like, okay, it's there. And growing up around that time, traffic was less and disorganized. But one thing which I think, because I think totally in my entire life, I must have spent like 18, 19 years on and off in Hyderabad. One thing which I love about this city more than any other city is its way to hug you and embrace you, and you don't have to change yourself to live in Hyderabad. Like if you, like for example, in Delhi, if you go to Delhi, it's a lot of status.
Yep.
It's a lot of tu kiska beta hai and all of that. Mumbai is also a lot of glamour as well. Hyderabad, it's like, one thing I noticed, like if you gate crash someone's party, is like
They'll
it's
be
not a
happy
big
to
deal.
have
In
you.
Delhi, if you gate crash someone's party, you might get shot also. In Hyderabad, it's like, oh shit, I have to organize more booze, more. I've got more people than I'd planned for as well. But it's a very like. I'm very surprised that Hyderabad got into this IT sector. I remember we were hearing this in the late 90s that, oh, high tech city banne wala hai, and we're going to get into this thing, and companies will come like, yeah, sure. Yeah. And I remember my dad had once got a tip to buy land in that area, which is now high tech city.
Right.
And it was like we're getting acres for like 40 lakhs. Acres.
I agree.
And he missed the bus on that. And that is just crazy because no one in Hyderabad really imagined this land boom which happened, and because we had no real resource as us, we would go camping in this area which is now high tech city and Kondapur and all, and we used to just call it Grand View. We used to go for picnics. We used to just see all the way right till the horizon that it was just rocks. But great planning, honestly. I think
No,
we've been
superb.
blessed with good governments.
I agree. I
Good
think
planning.
Chandrababu Naidu
For
started
sure.
this.
He does not get
Yeah.
enough credit
Yeah.
because he actually saw Hyderabad as it is, or Charminar and all, and just saw the land and said, why can't this be the next Singapore?
Correct.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why can't we have some games happening? Why can't Amazon or Google or all these guys set up their offices?
Microsoft, yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
And all these companies, Amazon, Uber, Google, all their campuses outside of America, their biggest campuses are in Hyderabad. Be defeating China and all these other their biggest campuses there because of proper smart planning and understanding. Like when you get into the politics of why, like we can go on about why India, a lot of cities did not get this business, whereas Hyderabad got it. It was because Hyderabad saw it long term. Whereas in other cities, they think the governments which come, they just think that, oh, I've been voted into power 5 years, let's just steal as much as possible. And who gives a damn if this place develops or not? It's my time to take my money due and recover what I'd lost in the last election or whatever.
Correct. But the thing is also like, you buy an MP ticket and an MLA ticket for like 50 crores and 30 crores and
Yeah.
all, and they want to make their money back, and and that's why I feel a system is flawed. I mean, that's another discussion. But coming back to Microsoft and all of these IT companies being here, the first IKEA of Hyderabad of
There's
India
a
was
reason
in,
why. Because
yeah,
we give out land at dirt cheap
Easy to
prices,
do, yeah.
and it gives you jobs, and thus your economy's wheels start turning rather than how much bribe this guy is giving me.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
crazy.
And but there is ease to do business. I mean, whatever they may say that KCR and KTR are like this family-run empire, and yes, I don't disagree with the fact that they hold most portfolios. They do their it's run by the father and son, and I guess one more other person, but I feel that in the last 5 years, there has been a boom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there has been a boom. People have made a lot of money, and from the previous government where it was some people were making money, I feel, it was not progressing at this pace. And they're very, they know what they want and they go after it. And you might call it whatever you want, but I mean, as long as the economy is prospering, I'm happy.
Like if you look at, like, I'm from Rajasthan, so when I see Rajasthan has this terrible problem of anti-incumbency. So thus they'll never give another party a chance. It's always BJP Congress, BJP Congress. It's been going on since the early 90s.
Right.
So whenever any government comes, 5 years honestly is not a lot of time for
It's
a
not
government to
enough
really
time.
show what they've done. An infrastructure project, a bridge, or outer ring road, all this takes years, probably decades to actually show its benefit.
I agree.
So if you're living with that thing that my election's in 5 years, so in 3 years I need to show whatever, and then I need to start bribing these voters to vote for me again. That's the problem. Countries are run by the people. We have to stop thinking that the government is in charge of my welfare. The government is just basically your building. If you have to think of the country as a closed society, as a building society, your government is just making sure that the plants are being watered and the road is good and the gate wala is awake. The rest all is up to you, honestly. Like some people, when I talk to them, they say, oh, unemployment is high or this or that. It's like, that's are doing. You and I, we need to come up with a business and create employment. Are you really lining up for a government job? That should not be your top priority. We should all be aspiring to do well for ourselves. If we become people expecting freebies, then we're always going to be just caught in a rat
But
race.
that's exactly what India is. Like, everybody wants what do you call, SC or ST or BC, and you want those. What's the word I'm looking for? I mean, reservation.
Yeah,
Everybody
reservation.
wants to be. Everyone wants to have a reservation. Like, I want. You have people want Muslim quota. People want this quota. People want that quota. I mean, that's the problem. Like, constantly people are looking for freebies, and
It's
freebies.
brown. Like if you see right now the problem, see a lot of people have this problem where they think that a government is where's the achhe din, they ask for BJP. Where's the achhe din? I said right now is the achhe din because Pakistan and Sri Lanka, their economies have collapsed and we have $660 billion in our forex reserves. That's Achhe Din. Achhe Din does not mean utopia is going to come and we're all going to be smiling and 1.5 billion people, all life is awesome. It's not, that's not utopia. We've survived a major economic crisis. Countries are collapsing right now. And that's basically because of good governance, smart governance as well. That's more important than thinking that someone's going to do your job for you and going to give you a job, going to give you a home, and going to. It doesn't work. That's why communism failed. Communism failed because it killed human ambition
Yeah.
as such. It just doesn't work in that way. Like a lot of people go after me saying, "Oh, why do you support BJP?" I've lost a lot of friends as well. I've a lot of people blocked me as well, and their first thought is, "Oh, you support Modi? That means you're racist, Nazi, this, that." All words have been thrown. But I'm like, listen, it's a conscious. Again, I'm open. They have a lot of flaws. BJP has a lot of flaws
Like everybody.
like everybody.
Yeah.
And look at our history of political parties. You think they've not had flaws? They've had massive flaws. You think they've not played with the Hindu-Muslim button? Of course they have. To garner votes is the oldest trick in the book. The British taught us this trick.
Yeah.
So you think some like Aam Aadmi Party or someone comes will solve it? No. It's politics is a dirty game. But you have to see, are they really doing work? What are they investing their time and resources on? And actually they have really done some good initiatives to definitely help improve the normal life of an Indian citizen. It can be Swachh Bharat, it can be so many infrastructure projects, the way our foreign policies dealt with as such. It's definitely better than what is the other option, which was just proper open looting.
So what do you feel about the petrol and diesel prices flying highest that they've ever been? Like, what's your comment on that? Like,
So
how do you feel? Like,
it's, see, if we think petrol, I think it's because our prices are high, is we've survived it because of that excess revenue.
I agree. Yeah,
Because of that
yeah,
excess
yeah.
revenue they got,
I agree.
we have money to give. Otherwise, if a government just thinks of freebies, like in Sri Lanka, the biggest problem was the government was just giving freebie after freebie just because they had an election promise. You can't do that because you're demotivating your public. Your public is now just depending on that freebie to make ends meet, and then you're killing the whatever the ambition is there for them to go and build your economy. The citizens supposed to build your economy, not the government. You know, like American public did not ask Larry Page to make Google. They did not ask Steve Jobs to make Apple. It was themselves, and it was the environment around them.
What you mean to say is it was not Barack Obama's job to make
Yeah,
Google or
exactly. It
Microsoft.
was like, oh wow, within
Yeah.
our country this is happening. That's
You can't
great.
ask Narendra Modi to come
What,
and
yeah,
make.
what America could have done was they eased immigration inside. So,
Yeah.
but of course, again, America's immigration is much more tougher than India's immigration status right now.
No, but I feel that there is of course there are shortcomings for everybody, and for a BJP supporter or a non-BJP supporter also, the like recently the finance minister said about the $5 trillion, like
Economy target, yeah.
the economy target is $5 trillion, but what I would say is that like $5 trillion is the regular amount, because if your economy is growing 11%
Yeah.
every year, in 5 years it will double. That is not an unrealistic target. So what I feel also is, yes, the $5 trillion is a very good number to achieve, but it's not a number that is not achievable. Like it's not something great. You know, you will achieve it with 11% growth in your economy every year. In 5 years, it will double. That is simple arithmetic, right? Like that's simple arithmetic. What I would say is that it should not be used saying, "Oh my God, $5 trillion." You know, you get my point. So now everybody's saying, "Oh, $5 trillion, BJP has got the government to 5 trillion," but that is simple arithmetic. It will come to $5 trillion.
But see, 11% is no joke. Getting 11%
I
GDP
agree.
is not easy.
I agree.
For
I
a
agree.
country this size.
Yeah, it is not easy. It is definitely not easy, and I don't discount that. But what I'm not saying that they have not done it, and $5 trillion is not, and 11% is not. But if you see an average over the period of years, we have been from an 8% on an average to 11%. We have never gone to 14, or we have not. We have sometimes, obviously, you know, that dip comes in for sometimes, but it's not like our averages have always been 8 to 11.
But you know, Aldi, if you see the future of India is actually very good, and we will grow at this pace. Why? We have one of the youngest countries in the world. A big chunk of our society is under the age of 35. So that's a lot of additional people jumping in and we have access to the phones nowadays, the knowledge. We have a very working society. We're not the lazy type in that way. We all want to work. We know the value of education as well. It's not going to stop us for sure. Like a lot of predictions are there for India's economy by 2040, 2050 will be big. So honestly, like nothing's going to stop us. Of course, the biggest hurdle for India together is we have to solve the communal problems between religions, because that's a tinderbox.
It will never. Yeah, I
don't think it'll ever solve itself.
Yeah, it'll never solve itself.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to make so much gain, you know, people are only. There's a gain for a few people from this, like whatever it may be, whether it's just simple gain, like whether it's Asaduddin Owaisi or whether it's Narendra Modi, they will all rile you up for their own personal gain. Now, I don't think it's personal gain. I'm sorry to say that. It's not personal for the political gain. For the political gain. You know, for political gain, they will rile you up, and that is not going to stop. What must stop, I feel, is the hatred that is being spread. You know, if for example there is some sort of, I see now a lot of groups coming out, and you know, like there are a lot of videos of like people jumping on mosques and painting them saffron. There is no reason for that. Or somebody jumping on a temple and trying to break that. There is no reason for that. There should not be. See, once the political game is played, it's played. That is not going to stop. People are going to continue to play it as long as we live, and after we die also. We have no control over that. I feel that the intensity is increasing, and that I feel is not good.
Actually, no. Intensity mean of the violence.
Of the violence, yes.
So, if you see history-wise, intensity of violence was at its peak in 1947.
Yeah,
when the riots took place, millions of people died in Bengal
but I understand
alone.
that. But like in 1947, we did not have this life also. Like we are in a much better place right now. And we have a lot more connectivity, a lot more people are happy, a lot more people are being educated. See, that time is different. Like you said,
do you think this is happening just because of political interference, or there are some underlying issues?
I think there are some underlying issues. There 100% are some underlying, which I feel is like, see, for me, it comes down to, I have always been, like, I can't talk from anybody else's experience. I'm going to talk from mine.
Yeah, for your experience.
Yeah, from mine. So, for me, I have always grown up in an environment where my favorite festival was Diwali. You know, more than Eid, more than, you know, Bakrid or whatever, my favorite festival was Diwali. I've lived in this sort of culture, you know.
Yeah.
And a few of my friends, you know, they love Eid more than me. Because they get to eat the
best food,
and it's just different. I mean, I guess, and that's the kind of lifestyle that I have led, you know, and I believe that if we can lead this sort of lifestyle, why should anybody else not be able to, and not be able to enjoy everything? What is the point? I mean, I don't get the point. See, at the end of the day, what is the point? Well, who's benefiting? Like, you know, if you and me are going to fight, who's going to benefit? Why can't everybody enjoy everything and live peacefully? I know it's utopian. I understand, like, you know, it's not ideal. People will have issues. But I know that I have lived this life. I have lived around it. I mean, like there are. I have many Muslim friends. I have many Parsi friends. I have many Hindu friends. I have many Sikh friends. But we have never ever discussed it. We've always had a very non. Religion was never a part of it,
Yeah.
of our friendship.
Yeah.
And I have lived that life, and I don't believe because I have I don't believe that anyone, it could be different for someone else. Why could we not achieve that? Because it is achievable.
So I was noticing the other day, and this is something where I was thinking, like, why is this problem happening? I saw other countries where there's a majority and a minority. So statistics wise, whenever there's a minority crosses 8% of the population of the share, there is always going to be tension, because now they're no longer a negligible amount. They're a solid part of your population. Like in France, there's Muslim Christian problems happening. In USA, there's the blacks and whites. They have problem. Blacks are 13%. In France, Muslims are 8%. Germany as well. In Islamic countries, whenever there's a population more, it's been a very hard on the minorities as well. And all of them, have they been able to solve them by being secular? Not really. And France is one of the most. The idea of secularism came from France, and it just couldn't solve itself at all. It's one thing where I think the only way to solve racism, actually it can never be solved, but is how seriously we take religion in our own minds, and how we can uplift ourselves financially, economically. Because racism is a very financial aspect, not your God is better than my God, at that aspect. Because whoever's rioting, who's rioting? Is it the richest of your society? Is it the middle class society? No, it's always the poorest of your society. And because they're more naive, they're low educated, and unemployed, a lot of them. So thus that sort of a thing needs to be solved. Like when the Black Lives Matter was happening, I had made a very controversial post where I said the pasting black tiles on your Instagram is not going to solve it. You have to basically what the black society has to do is trying to uplift themselves financially.
Right.
And a lot of people found that very offensive. But I said, well, look at the example of the Indians in the NRIs in America. They were in the 90s, they had the stereotype of taxi drivers. They were not seen as rich people in America. But they uplifted themselves in the last 30 years. And now look at them. An Indian in America is way more richer than any other person. It's because of sheer hard work. No, but this is a very important conversation to have, because the thing is, religion is such a touchy subject.
Right,
That so many of our friends, whenever they just go behind the back of any of their friends, and then they bitch about their religion or their views and all of that. I'm like, if you have such problems, why don't you just talk it out with them? I said, well, they get very sensitive, and that's the problem, is that religion, and I don't know, I think mainly religion is one of the things.
See,
which is very sensitive, and people are just not willing to budge on it.
It's not sensitivity. I feel that no one makes an effort. Like if one person does, and you are open about it and are ready to have a conversation when you are not going to get offended. And
but there's very few. Very
yeah,
few
but
people.
like the thing is, that comes only after lots of people start talking about it. Like, at least now both of us can sit here and have this conversation and not want to be at each other's throat later.
What do you think is an Indian Muslim's perspective of, does he feel safe in India? Does he think there were better times before, or does he see the direction of India in the future as positive or not so good?
Not so positive.
Not so positive.
Not so positive.
Why?
In general, because there is so much more. See, before, if you saw news, the news, every day there is something about, like, for example, hijab, or this hijab has been worn forever. Now it started yesterday that, like, it's now a big deal. People who have written exams, I know that there was a girl in my class, she wrote the exam in a hijab.
Okay.
Right? So, but not in HPS, but in my college.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I have seen that, but now it's a big deal. And I just believe that, like, there is no point of, having this conversation, making this. There is no other agenda than political gain in my opinion. When did you see the hijab row happening? This is me speaking like
I'll
um,
do.
openly. Let me finish. So hijab row started just around UP elections.
Yeah.
Now I don't hear anything about hijab row. Everyone is fine. So therefore that like pulls me saying that like yes, the communal card is being used, but what's happening is that like with this communal card being used, first it used to be used once in 5 years. Now it's being used more often.
Every panchayat election.
Every panchayat election it's now being, so it's the thing is every, and the frequency of it makes a lot of people who are, like you said, uneducated, naive, the lowest strata of society hate. Right? And once you start hating and that hate has built up in your heart, it's very difficult for you to go back. And that's what you're going to teach your children and your children's children. And it's only going to get worse. It's never going to go away. Like today, like if you were wronged by some community, now you are going to hold it against it for life. And now you are going to preach that to your children. And your children are going to spread that around to their friends, to their children, to the people that they meet, and that is how the hate is going to grow.
Yeah.
It's never going to reduce.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is eventually we're just growing more and more hate. And and then it reaches a point where, people are getting killed and people are fighting and then they're breaking stuff, whatever it may be. But that is my biggest problem with the communal card, because you used it once, it was fine. But like to use it at every drop of a hat, only that is being used at a drop of a hat, because that is the best way to kind of unite it. And now they've gotten, like, I feel now the OIC is also in there to divide the Muslim vote and kill Congress. It's generally, I believe that's the reason for OIC to go. Where was he before? He was a single MLA from Hyderabad. Now he fights elections in Assam. He fights elections in Uttar Pradesh. He fights elections in Maharashtra. He fights elections in every state. Where does he have the resources? How has he gone from a single MLA, from a single presence in a single city, to a pan-India person? There has to be some sort of support. He cannot have done this by himself.
But I'll do one thing following on your point, because I know a lot of people thinking that all of this has started post 2014. But I've met a lot of people, liberals and conservatives, on this particular point. The liberal friends say, yes, we should all be secular. The conservative people have some... Yeah, it's very important to see the both sides of the coin.
I agree.
Because what I've realized is this was not just happened post 2014, since BJP came into power. But I'll explain my thought process on this. There has, when I'd interviewed this person, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, he's a political analyst, very, very right-winger. And his philosophy is basically that Hindu Muslims are not bhai. They somewhat tolerated each other. He used the word tolerated. And I'm like, well, why would you say that? He says the problem is that there is a lot of history, a lot of pent-up history from the past. From the Mughal era rule, where certain temples were demolished or people were force converted. Then came the British, who made sure they found the button to make sure Indians don't unite. Because once Indians unite, Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs and all, they're unstoppable. They're unstoppable for sure. And then what happened was what's happening right now in the Hindu right-wingers' mindset. It's very important to understand that also. A Hindu right-wingers' mindset is what's happening to Islam globally, not the Indian Muslim. The Indian Muslims actually been very, very peaceful, not at all provoking in any way whatsoever. Why would they provoke? They're a minority. Why would they try and poke the bear? But what they're worried about is what Islam has somewhat been going through globally has been there. It's getting a little more radical than what it would have been. May it be the terrorism or with media using the terrorist card all over the place. So now, if a terrorist bombing happens somewhere, they think it's happening everywhere. So thus, they're a little scared of that. And somewhat, they get intimidated by how seriously the religion is taken. If someone's following Islam, you're praying a lot, like God is a big part of your life.
Right.
Whereas for a Hindu or a Sikh, there's no, it's a part of your life, but not the most important part of your life. So if I can talk to a Hindu and I'll say what God and all, he won't really get very worked up on it in that particular sense. But they somewhat feel it like, oh, this is scary. So it's very weird, because when you talk to a Indian Muslim, he'll say, oh, we are scared of the Hindus actually getting all worked up and committing genocide. Whereas the Hindu right winger thinks, oh no, they're planning to take over the population. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Both sides are ridiculous. But both sides, if you listen to one side too much, you will actually end up believing that. But in reality, which is one reason, it's a big critique of BJP, is they're playing with India's crazy switch. India has one weak.
I agree.
That crazy switch is this Hindu-Muslim thing, because what BJP does not realize is there are certain Indian Muslims who will give up their lives for this country.
100%.
And they love this country. They have no intuition to go to Bangladesh or Pakistan or anything. When you ask an Indian Muslim about Pakistan and all, they say Pakistan is a complete garbage shithole.
Exactly.
They're proud to live in this society. But by BJP poking that thing just for the sake of votes, because they learned that we can win elections without getting even one Muslim vote. But by doing that, you're dividing friendships, you're breaking up families, and you're stirring the hornet's nest.
No,
and that's one big problem I feel. I think basically we cannot solve. There's this underlying problems from before, and the only way we can do is stop taking our religions as the be all and end all. And if you say something against my God, it's going to get really, really intense. Like with the recent Ram Navami protests.
Yeah.
Like, so some kid threw a stone or something, and that just created such a big problem.
Pan-India. It's not a kid throwing the stone. That is not the issue. The issue is not the kid. It's all the bent up anger, the frustration.
Yeah.
The thing on both sides. It's just not one side. It's both sides. Everybody has their own views and their own notions about the others without even knowing. Because see, now today, like, like you said, the news has told you that Islam is a very radical and very strong religion. Like, you believe in it strongly, right? Like, and yes, there is certainly, you have to read namaz 5 times a day, and you have to keep this roza. You cannot eat and drink while this time. So, from a perspective, it definitely sounds radical, where you're
not radical, but it's a lifestyle. It's a strict lifestyle.
It's a strict lifestyle, and yes, that is the truth. It is a strict lifestyle, because either you're a good Muslim or you are not. You can't have
There's no middle ground.
There's no middle ground. It's black or white. So that is the most important thing. You are a good Muslim, but if you do one thing wrong, then you are not a good Muslim. So you have to be a good Muslim all the time. So the reason, what I believe is for that is that people have to always be kept in check. Rather than the masses doing whatever they want. Now, this is my thought process on it. I may be absolutely wrong, but the reason is that, like, they felt that, like, you to control them, you have to always control them. So keep them in check 24/7. Ki 6 mahine, not 6 hours of break, and then do whatever for 18 hours, and then again 6 hours you be good. So you have to be good constantly. You have to follow God constantly. So by being good does not mean that you go kill somebody. That's not what I'm saying.
But is there certain space for reform with time? Like how Hinduism also had a very dark era with, like, sati, for example.
Yes.
Where the husband dies and then the wife has to jump into the fire. And when the Brits had to say that, no, you guys need to chill from this, you have to ban this. And then I'm sure at that time, we don't know now, but there was a lot of opposition towards that. But actually, we look back now and we're like, my God, that was really, really stupid. Why did we have this? Like, maybe back in the day, they probably had some philosophy. But every religion has to go through some reform with the times.
Every religion does go through reform. And I think Islam has also gone through reform. There are a lot of things that have changed. But the problem is that, like, the changes have not been... It's a minority that screws it up for everybody. Like, if there are 100 people, there are 10 people doing the stupid shit and 90 people facing the brunt, which is with anything.
Yeah.
And of course...
Media loves to glorify the
thing. Yeah. So anyway, and even with this, even when, Islam is relatively a very new religion. Like,
Yeah,
you know, the
650 AD.
14, I don't know, whenever
It's 1400 years.
yeah, 1400 years or whatever, like, it's been there. And so it's not evolved as much and gone through as much, I feel, as much
Yeah.
as Christianity has.
Well,
Or
Christianity also went through its dark ages as
everybody
well.
has, and I think this is the dark ages for for Islam. Like they're going through their own
Yeah,
issues.
they're figuring it out. Like
Yeah, they're figuring it
even in
out.
Christianity, they
Yeah.
had blasphemies. Was a Christianity thing. If you say I don't believe in Jesus, you're killed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure Hinduism also went through that phase as well.
So-
it's that tussle going on.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So anyway, so now of course you have to, in my opinion, you have to be mindful of the society that you live in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to understand your environment and be respectful.
Of course.
Don't be disrespectful. That's what I feel. Like, whatever you are, you follow your beliefs, but you should not be disrespectful to someone else. I don't think any religion preaches that. For me, that is that if a person has that much maturity and that much understanding, then I believe that like anybody would not have these issues. Now, if you coming back, all of these with all of these issues happening about Hindu, Muslim, whatever, everybody will love Saudi Arabia. Why? Because they are sending you oil. They will never say anything against them. The first person they should talk about is Mohammed bin Salman killing journalists, getting away with everything. He's a hardcore dictator.
Yeah.
Right? And he is the head of Saudi Arabia, which is like which was Mecca, which is like Muslims ka, whatever. So nobody raises a question on him. Oh, Mohammed bin Salman, great guy.
I think that
why? Because he has money.
They put some restrictions in Saudi Arabia recently on the loudspeakers as well. Like only for azan, it's allowed the call to prayer.
Yeah.
So, but Saudi Arabia, they allowed women to drive cars. So there is that development.
So there is development, but I also feel that it's hypocritical because all our people want to go to Dubai to party. Why to go? Why should you go to Dubai? Now you hate Muslims so much. You don't want to do this. Why to go to Dubai and party? I mean, don't go. Don't go to Qatar. Like you think this thing is there. The divide should be fully. I feel like if it's there, it should be 100% or zero. I'm like that. Like, I'm like, why are you doing half-assing it? Like, first person that should be called out is people like, these Mohammed bin Salmans of the world who are doing whatever they want. Imprisoned 40 people and came to power. Right? But no one will say a word. Donald Trump is giving him jets because he's buying. Yeah. And he will be all praises about him and saying he's the best person on the planet.
In the end, it's all
but he's
money.
the main Muslim head of the fucking world. Like, come on. You have nothing to say there. But here you have so much to say. I mean, and you deal with when you go to sheikhs and just because they have money.
Yeah.
You will be like, oh my God, the Kuwait guy is coming and we have to treat him like the king of the world. Why to treat him? Have the same response.
Do you think the world will become will become more agnostic with time, or like in Europe, for example, the latest statistics say that 50% of the country is of the continent is agnostic.
I believe the world is moving towards agnostic and atheist because of education. Okay, because of education, because you are educated in how would you classify yourself? Are you agnostic? Are you atheist?
An agnostic is someone who believes that there is a God but will not label it. An atheist believes that there's nothing at all. I'm in the fine line of both. I would say with more, the older I get, I realize I should be more agnostic than atheist, because an atheist is somewhat believing and is just completely cutting off any possibility of anything, any superpower up there. But an agnostic is a nice, beautiful way of just beautifully saying, I don't know.
I don't know.
And I'm not ashamed to say that.
Exactly.
Because I'll tell you the problem that I see is most of these radicals who have very, very strong opinions, who have arguments with or whatever, they are all born into that religion.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the fundamental flaw with humanity is, as soon as the baby is born, you're Hindu, you're Muslim, you're Christian. Here's your Christian name, here's your Muslim name, or go through that.
And that's your identity.
And that's your identity for the rest of your life, and it's decided why? Because your parents are also of that religion.
Correct.
That's wrong. If we can choose, if we are not allowed to vote till the age of 18, then how can our entire personality be determined at the age of 0?
I agree. At zero, and for it's decide a complete identity is being decided. Why should that happen? And also, secondly, like you said, like it's beautiful to say I don't know, and I am still figuring it out. It's all right, because see, we are all figuring it out. What you're figuring out your work, you're figuring out your life, you're figuring out your relationships, you're figuring out your family. You're figuring everything out. Why can't we figure God out? And why does it have to be such a strong
I
uh, emotion? It does
I
not
think
have
it's
to be.
basically because human beings just don't want to admit there is no God. I'm sorry, these last couple of years we've been screwing with you guys.
Because
So,
because I
it's all for
think,
money.
when God comes in, okay, when everything is going well, oh, okay, fine,
Yeah.
you're not asking, oh, your leg is broken, God, why did this happen? Oh,
Yeah, I know. Like sometimes I have arguments with my parents about God, and I'm very vocal with it with them. And they say, "See, actually, even we know." My mom once very candidly told me, "Like, actually, we know that there is no God and all. It's just within us. God is
Yeah,
within us.
yeah, within us, yeah.
Because we it'll makes us feel good." I said, "Okay, make us."
There's-
But why do you have to make up this story? Because
faith.
because I have this belief that religion unites millions but divides billions.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
now, because you're following this certain religion, and thus this other person feels odd to talk to you or even make friendship
are
with
wrong.
you. Yeah, because in the end, if someone sees you and me on the street, they won't think of religion. They'll say, "Oh, these are two Indian guys."
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
Exactly.
And if aliens come down tomorrow and you try and explain to them religion, and that's the main reason our species doesn't get along. They'll be like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
We believe that there's a human being up there, even though there was dinosaurs for the majority of this Earth's existence. But there's a human being up there, and
He controls everything.
He controls everything. He hears everything,
Yeah.
and he's made a hell and a heaven.
And the biggest thing is it's a he.
Yeah, it's a he.
Yeah.
There's no she.
There's no
she
she.
God.
Yeah, it's a he.
Even though life comes from a she,
Yeah.
it has to be from a he.
It's a
because
he,
He doesn't
yeah.
have, and he needs money.
Yeah.
He needs money.
And he needs you to love him.
Yeah. If you don't come to that temple
Yeah.
or pray to them on that day, or you didn't do
Yeah,
that,
you didn't read namaz, like
oh my
you
God.
are fucked,
And
man.
Yeah, and but I'll tell you, there is an advantage to religion because that was one of the first sources in the beginning of giving laws. Back in the day, no one knew that killing people is
Right.
bad.
You mean that was the way to reach people and get
To
them
teach
into a
them
society?
morals.
Yeah.
Today, all our laws are based on morals from religion.
Yeah.
All of this. Otherwise, back in the day, people didn't know. Like if you read the Bible, and it's written over there specifically that there's a science behind during the Ramzan time of fasting. There's a science behind it as well. There's a science behind Lent as well for Christians. There's a science behind Ram Navami also, and there's
Of
fasting.
course.
There's a science behind having vegetarian food for
Right, 100%.
And how do they tell someone to follow it? Well, if you don't follow it, God's going to kill you.
Yeah.
God will hate you if you
yeah,
did that.
Yeah, I get that. That's insane, though. I mean, I love the fact that there are people in this world that we can have this discussion and be open and just talk. It's good. It's good.
I think we've reached that phase in humanity where we can actually say that, listen, we have laws now, we have governments, we have science.
Yeah.
Let's phase out religion.
Yeah,
Let's just phase it out, and let's identify ourselves not on countries also, but just based on
Merit.
On merit.
Merit.
It has to be a meritocracy.
Yeah,
Meritocracy. Exactly.
Yeah, it has to be on merit. Like, please rate the person on merit. I mean, you cannot rate him because he's Hindu, he's bad. Because he's Muslim, he's bad.
How many
what
people?
nonsense?
How many wars? Majority of all our wars has been Christian attacking Muslim or Muslim attacking Christian, or but vice versa. It's all been, very few religions attack each other.
Yeah.
Very, very few.
Yeah.
World War II, it was Nazi Germany was atheist.
Correct.
So thus they fought with the other countries in that way, but then again they fought with another atheist power, which is Russia as well. But back and forth, when you have that division of God, then it somewhat justifies. Then it's your enemy.
I mean, look at the Pope right now. The current Pope, he's acknowledged homosexuality. He's acknowledged for a Pope.
So what he said, that it's okay to be gay.
No, he's not said it's okay to be gay. He said love is love. I mean, like, he's not said, okay, now you can be gay. Like, no, that's not what he said. But he said love is love. Like, you can't not say love is not love. So
What happened recently, not recently, but in the last couple of years, a lot of people figured out a lot of these Catholic priests were pedophiles.
Yeah.
And so that broke the concept of God for a lot of people. It's like, oh my God. No, and not like one or two. There was like thousands of them.
See,
there
that's...
was like a proper ring of Catholic priests.
But
doing this.
we are trying to see, like, I don't understand why religion is trying to take away biology. This is biology. You are made this way.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but you have a sexually
I think it's a
reproductive
way of saying that
organ.
Please reproduce, keep reproducing.
No, yes, reproduce, but like, you have a sexual organ that any human being, whether it's man, woman, whatever, transsexual, whatever it may be, you feel horny. That's a thing that you feel. I mean, like, why is that such a big
But
deal?
they say you should feel horny towards that person.
Yeah, you have to feel horny towards that person. But that is not a fact, right? Like, as a human being, you have done this. Like, be rational. Like, you go to a movie, there's a heroine. Are you not supposed to feel horny towards her? Like, she's fucking dancing. I'm sorry, but like, in a manner to provoke sexual whatever pleasure, whatever it may have been. And are you not supposed to feel horny towards that? I mean, because in religion you're taught, no, you have to be monogamous, you should not think like that, you should not masturbate, you should not do this, you should not do that. It's so much like we're just rejecting biology. Like,
but I'll tell you, if you see most civilizations which survived, all one thing they had in common was they had a god. All of them.
yeah.
And that's how they would taught each other morals, and that's how people self-sustain. You can't police humans 24/7. It's just impossible. So the only way you can tell them is there's a hell, and whatever you did naughty
This is the easiest.
alone
This is the
is
easiest way to kind of control.
But we
put
are
control.
at because the amount how much we've evolved in these last 100 years.
My point exactly was going to be that. Yeah.
We've evolved so much. In 1947 when we got independence, the average life expectancy for an Indian was 35 years old.
Right.
35. So that's why we had child marriage. Like today we look at child marriage like weird because like
Yeah.
you can't get married at 27 in those days.
You would be dead by 35.
Yeah, you'd be
like,
dead by then. So people were getting married, having kids at age 12, 14 and
that
all
was
like
the
that.
only way to make society grow. I mean, like, continue evolution.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what life was. And now we've advanced in sciences, so we're living till 80, 90. We've advanced in healthcare.
We're educated. We're not savages, right? Like,
Yeah,
we're not savages.
Like we're not killing millions of
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
genocide, going for a holy
Yeah.
war and all of that. We've become smarter than that. Capitalism has helped us, but we've got too much capitalism now. Too much capitalism, so now
Greed is good. Greed is
it's
good.
crazy. It's
I mean,
crazy.
it's pushed it to that level. Like, like, you have to have this. It's an object of desire that you must have. So, I always feel that moderation is, key, but there is no moderation. Once you get sucked in, I think there's no way.
How can we control greed?
You can't.
Like the other day,
You
me and my
can't.
brother were having this discussion. It's like, what if there's a wealth cap? Because a human being does not need $1 billion to live. His entire life, you made $1 billion, nothing is going to happen in this life where you will have to face poverty. You have $1 billion with you. But we have now $200 billion, Elon Musk and all that. So it's just, it's very hard to understand.
Yeah, but like,
that.
see, the thing is that what do you do with this $200 million, and why is the
Billion,
government
yeah.
billion? Sorry, and why is the government like letting this happen? Like, for example, why does one person need so much money? For example, Mukesh Ambani in India or Gautam Adani in India, 100 billion, right? If you had a cap, like, okay, fine, after the 50 billion, then you put a
Give
cap.
it to your son or give it to someone else.
No,
but
give
it's not
it
yours.
back to the government. Yeah, give it back to the government
They'll
for
think the government
for
will eat it up.
welfare, or you do welfare. With the rest, you do welfare.
There should be a necessity that you have to donate.
Welfare,
You
yeah.
have to open an NGO.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you must give back after a certain point. What will you do with 100 billion? You're going to die. Okay, your son will still have their money. Your son will still have.
Your son will come out to be a complete douchebag.
Exactly.
Because he does not see struggle. He has no value for that money.
Yeah.
And
He's going to be like, I am the king of the world, and
do you know
you
my
bow
father
down
is-
to my feet.
when people say, "Do you know who my father is?" Like,
It
you
just-
know who your father is.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why are you asking me?
Yeah, exactly.
What have you done? You were just born out
Yeah,
of
exactly.
this person. You
You-
have done zero zilch to actually
And
deserve
that.
that.
That sense of entitlement is what I I disagree with completely. Because see, I'll tell you what, definitely my dad has given me something. It's not like he has not given me anything. Okay, of course I've had the privilege of having living a very comfortable life. You know, he has provided me with a comfortable life. But after a certain point, you must do your own and you must give back. And once you have those kind of resources, rather than you going for more and more and more and more, there should be a set defined limit. In my opinion, there should be a defined limit, that once you reach a certain limit, which is maybe like $1 billion, $10 billion, whatever it may be, like the scholars can kind of debate and set that limit. But once you do, after that, what are you going to do? Give back to the society, do welfare, help people who are in need. People are dying of hunger, people are dying of education. Like, like
99, like 95% of all wealth is controlled by 1%.
yeah, exactly. 95% of 1%. Exactly. So,
Makes no sense.
it
at
makes
all.
no
Like,
sense.
The scale is just tilted completely.
Yeah. And it's insane. But
That's life.